Today we're going to share the hidden framework used to influence the eBay search algorithm. This is the search formula that directly impacts your ability to rank your items in search. If you crack this code, your sales numbers are going to shoot through the roof. My name's Ty Wilson. I host a popular show called Chasing Cardboard, and I resell tens of thousands of items each and every year all across eBay. If you're struggling to get your listings noticed on eBay, you are not alone. Today, I'm going to show you how to crack the code of eBay's search algorithm called Cassini so that you can boost your visibility and sell more products and ultimately grow your business like never before. But first, let's talk about what Cassini actually is. This is eBay's search engine, the brains behind what listings show up when buyers search for something across all eBay platforms. Unlike Google, though, Cassini focuses on one main thing, and that is relevance. Cassini is designed to connect buyers with listings that are most likely to lead to purchases across eBay's marketplaces. It prioritizes things like seller performance, buyer experience, and how likely that item is to be purchased in that visit. Whereas Google aims to deliver the most authoritative, relevant content across the entire web, focusing on matching search queries with accurate and valuable information. Two completely different approaches to helping the user get what he or she wants. To put it more plainly though, eBay simply wants to connect buyers with the listings that most likely will lead to a purchase. They factor in the buyer's tendencies and whether that item and that seller can most likely lead to a conversion or a sale. Understanding how this works is the key to mastering eBay as a platform. You want to be recommended as often as possible to potential buyers, but to really master this formula, you have to start thinking about Cassini less as an enemy and more as a sales assistant. This sales assistant is going to help decide whether your item gets primary shelf space at the front of the store or if it gets buried on the bottom row, low shelf in the back of the store. So to make sure that we get primary shelf space, let's break down the most important variables that Cassini rewards. Number one, relevance. Truly, relevance is everything on eBay. This is the primary driver for you being found in search. We all know that AI is surrounding us in everything that we do, so it's easy to think that artificial intelligence is going to somehow connect a buyer with my item or your item. But that is only partially true. eBay's Cassini is looking to find the most relevant item for a buyer, and relevance to Cassini means a few things. It means the right keywords. It means clear and complete descriptions. It means detailed item specifics. For instance, if you're selling a red extra large line starter windbreaker jacket, you don't just title it starter jacket. If you did that, you'd be competing with 28,000 other items. No, you add starter red XL lined windbreaker jacket into your title, and voila, you're competing with 39 others. Relevance is crucial, and your titles help define the parameters of your relevance. AI is not going to somehow solve this problem for you. It's your job as a seller to get these keywords into the title. But good news, if you're a seller, you should have access to Terapeak, and you can simply look at past sales or even dive into the most active item specifics within categories. You can identify keywords that might be important to you. You want your title to be packed with them, obviously without sounding like a run-on sentence full of spam. You can kind of figure out how to make that work best. The next thing the algorithm is going to reward is your ability to keep the buyer engaged. That's right. Engagement is critical. This is where everything inside your listing comes into play. Think about your photos, your descriptions, and even the template design of your listing. Did you know that Cassini tracks how long buyers stay on your listing? If you have buyers dropping into your listing and then immediately jumping out, that hurts your metrics and it lowers your weighting. eBay doesn't want to recommend a listing that doesn't engage the buyer. But if the buyer sticks around, he looks at all your pictures, he reads through your description, that's a huge win for you in the ranking. So, how do you engage the buyer? Well, think about your own buying process. When you get sucked into a potential buy, what is it that does it for you? It's the title, probably, and maybe even the thumbnail image. Okay, but what keeps you on the page? It's probably the additional images, the other angles, the high def. Maybe it's the details within the description. How was it described? Where did it come from? Condition. And then maybe it's the policies of the seller. You want answers to all of those. These are exactly the things that keep a buyer engaged. And an engaged buyer is usually a buyer who is getting informed. And an informed buyer is usually a buyer who is most likely to click buy it now or place a bid. View everything through the context of informing your buyer, and you'll keep them engaged longer. Number 3, your reputation. This probably doesn't need too much explaining, but your reputation as a seller heavily influences Cassini's decision to put you near the front of the store. But it's not just positive feedback. It's also how fast do you respond? How often do you respond? Do you have a high rating across all of the other feedback categories? All of these pieces are factored into your reputation and ultimately how much Cassini figures it can trust you. 100% feedback. Top-rated sellers are simply going to get recommended. eBay wants buyers to deal with those sellers. So focus on delivering incredibly good customer service on every single transaction and try really hard to avoid late shipments and cancellations because those will silently destroy your reputation. Quick reminder, if you want to be updated with all of these eBay and reselling videos and also get first crack on some of the resources that I do send out, join my free email list below. It'll take you 10 seconds. And you're only going to receive updates that will bring value to your life, I promise. Here is a Cassini hack that most people don't think about, and it's all about staying fresh. You see, you get rewarded if your listings aren't stale and crusty. Let's face it, nobody likes stale and crusty of anything. And the good news is you can easily breathe life into your current listings by doing just a few simple tweaks. You can create a calendar reminder once a week and do these 3 things. First, revise your listings that are over 2 weeks old with a simple title tweak. Add a word, remove a word, change something. That simple. Number 2, any items that are 45 days old in the listing and relist it as a new listing. Tweak the price, lower it, tweak the title, and just let it go. And then finally, take a quick glance at the primary photo of your stale listings. Do any of them look pathetic and lacking life? Well, that is probably what your buyer is thinking as well. Take a minute, go update those listings with a new photo, or maybe move one of the other photos up to the primary. You can do all of that in 10 minutes every week, and you can keep your inventory fresh. This little hack will work wonders with the algorithm. Okay, number 5, pricing your items competitively. Sometimes I see listings and I'm just speechless. I mean, which for me is pretty unusual. But unless you're using eBay to show off your inventory, pricing should be fairly easy to get close to reality. Most of the time, it's not really subjective. Look, you can get a pass on photos or titles or even the type of inventory because those have a lot of personal preference and subjectiveness tied into the quality. But pricing is something that most of the time is set by the market. And if you take a few minutes to do research in something like Terapeak, which is free, you can figure out what the going rate is for your item. Now, don't get me wrong. I want to sell things for as much as possible. So should you. So I'm not advocating for you just to go undercut and set prices at the last sale. But Cassini isn't going to give you preference if your prices are not in the same planet as recent sold prices. You've got to go look at the market and come up with your sweet spot. If you want to attract high prices, you better be ready to deliver on nearly everything else in your listing. But again, just remember, when you price, it creates a signal for the buyer, and it also sends a signal to the algorithm about how likely your item is to sell. So don't expect to get extra visibility if you're not pricing competitively. With that said, it's very important to utilize things like best offer or sales promotions because those will drive even more buyer interaction, which, as you know, will trigger a very nice bump from Cassini. And finally, number 6, shipping and returns. This one is very polarizing, but let's just lay out the facts. eBay rewards sellers and items with free shipping. This is not debatable. In fact, it's a much larger point of the algorithm impact than many of you think. Free shipping gives you an edge, end of story. Where it becomes polarizing though is if the algorithm bump outweighs the actual cost of shipping. Will that additional exposure and activity generate a faster or higher sales price that will outpace the advantage of having your shipping costs covered by the buyer? This is ultimately up to you to decide. And frankly, depending on the day of the week, I could be convinced either way. But there is absolutely no doubt that eBay is doing its best to promote free shipping. So it might just be best to get in line with that theory. But it doesn't just stop with free shipping. This Cassini favorability also rolls into free returns, and 30-day returns at that. In sports cards where buyer's remorse and player injuries can really impact returns, I'm not a huge fan of lengthy return windows, but I totally get where eBay is coming from. And frankly, if a buyer wants to return something, even if you don't allow returns, there are ways to do it. I also confirmed in a recent conversation with eBay that offering free returns barely impacts the number of returns for sellers. So I'd venture to say that in nearly every category, offering the free 30-day returns is worth the bump in search results. And there you have it. If you want to move your items to the top of search results, you have the formula. If you prioritize these 6 things that we quickly mentioned, I can guarantee that you're going to see an increase in search ranking. And this will lead to an increase in impressions. And that will lead to clicks. And hopefully all of that, for your sake, will allow you to start hearing this magic sound a whole lot more. Take care. Oh. And for the love, click the like button and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. Take care.